Okay, so this one is really easy if you understand it, but if you don't, I can totally get why you would be really, really confused by this. So let me try to explain it to you the way that I make sense of it. So when I read it, I'm also a little bit confused, right? This is a weird equation, a times x plus b equals 4x plus 10. In the equation above, a and b are constants. That really doesn't mean anything. That just means that there are numbers for a and b, but it's a way that the SAT likes to kind of make you nervous. Like, whoa, constants, a and b, like it seems like it's a lot. It's not. If the equation has infinitely many solutions, that part is actually important. For x, what is the value of b? Okay, so a solution is like an answer. Infinitely many answers, like what does that even mean? Well, I go back to the equation and I'm trying to look for something to kind of ground me and help me make sense of what's going on. So the left side is really weird, but the right side kind of reminds me of a line, right? It's missing the y equals part, but basically it's an mx plus b situation, right? We can tell there's like a slope and a y-intercept. It looks like y equals mx plus b without the y. Now that gets me thinking, because I know a lot about how lines form solutions, right? So a line has a solution when it crosses another line. Usually it only happens once, right? Two lines, no matter what the slopes are, they can only cross once. That's just the way that lines work. So for it to have infinitely many solutions, I have memorized that that means something very specific. Lines have infinitely many solutions when they are the same line, right? So think about it. Normally a line only crosses once. When would it cross infinitely many times? Literally when the lines are the same, right? They literally overlap at every single point. That's what it means to have infinitely many solutions, is they're crossing each other at every point that they possibly can. So I need to see this one equation basically as two equations and say, okay, these things need to be the same. They need to be the same exact line. So there's a couple ways to think about it. I'm actually going to separate them into y equals mx plus b format just because I think it's a little easier to understand. So let's take y equals 4x plus 10, right? That's the right side of the equation. And let's kind of do the same thing here. Y equals ax plus b. Well, that doesn't quite look like y equals mx plus b, right? That parentheses is different. I don't usually have that. So this is a good example where I'm going to make a little change. Let's distribute that a to both parts so that we don't have the parentheses. So y equals ax plus a times b. Okay, well the ax part, that part makes more sense to me. Because if they're supposed to be the same line, then this 4 and this a have to be the same. So based on the structure of this equation, I've just learned one of my variables. I didn't solve for it in the traditional way that we solve for variables in algebra. I used the structure of a line to help me understand what it is. The SAT does this a lot. They really want you to understand how equations are built. Sometimes they do it with quadratics, sometimes they do it with lines, but it's less about algebra and more about structure and properties. So try to get used to this. Now, once I've learned that a is equal to 4, I can substitute that into this a, right? It's the same a. So I also can make a little bit of an equation here about out of the y-intercepts. 10 is supposed to be the same as a plus b, but I'm going to substitute that a in, so 4 times b. And then once I've done that, it's really just a matter of solving, right? Just divide by 4 and cross it out, and we're left with b equals 10 fourths, but we should also probably reduce that to 5 halves, which is also 2.5. So I left it as a fraction when I bubbled it, but you can go to a decimal. We do have the calculator in this section. So it's a little weird. I don't love this question because I get why, like I said, I get why people are confused by it, but I will say this. The thing that's worth memorizing is that when lines have infinitely many solutions, it means that they are the same exact line. So they'll have the same slope and they'll have the same y-intercept. And so this should be like a trigger word. If you see that that's what they're talking about, you kind of want to write same line on your page so you can just like give yourself something to look at and hopefully something to work with to actually solve the problem. There's like 1,000 ways they could ask this exact same question, but that phrase is going to be there. Infinitely many solutions. Try to put that in your brain. It might come in handy for a quick 10 points.